Anyone who has watched a terrifying movie can identify one certainty. The individuals involved consistently make terrible choices. Yet if they behaved reasonably, it's likely the story wouldn't unfold. Consequently, here are some appalling decisions made by characters in scary films, and it should go without saying that spoilers lie ahead. Number 10. Jeepers Creepers, investigating the drainpipe. After being vigorously pursued by a deranged driver in a large vehicle deep in a remote area, our central figures, Leo and Alex, notice the suspicious, menacing character operating the truck, depositing what looks like a wrapped body into a culvert beside the street. What is that? The sinister individual then undeniably stares at the two as they drive past, recognizing that they witnessed his actions, necessitating the elimination of witnesses. The truck driver reappears, ramming Leo's vehicle off the road before continuing down the route. Now, a typical individual would simply depart and report the event to the first officer encountered. However, this wouldn't qualify as a horror movie without a dreadful idea. Leo opts to return and inspect what was discarded inside the pipe rather than proceeding to the nearest communication device and alerting the authorities. He ends up tumbling into the pipe after being startled by a few small animals and ultimately becomes the creature's next victim. Number 9. Drag Me to Hell, failing to verify the contents of the envelope. At the conclusion of Drag Me to Hell, after Sarah had seemingly rid herself of the cursed ornament destined to send her to eternal torment, David, her partner, retrieves a familiar packet containing none other than the cursed object. It turned out she had mistakenly disposed of David's packet containing a coin instead of her own containing the token. Had Sarah simply made the correct choice and examined the envelope's contents initially, she would have been freed from the unending affliction. Number 8. The ending of I Am Legend. In the climax of I Am Legend, Dr. Ethan Reed decides to sacrifice himself by placing the remedy into Maya's hand and securing her and her child inside a fortified storage unit before activating a handheld explosive and obliterating himself along with the charging infected beings. What he could have done differently, however, was simply hurl the explosive at them and enter the unit himself, as it could clearly accommodate another person, and it would have only taken 2 steps for Ethan to get inside. Number 7. Lisa's demise in I Know What You Did Last Summer. While attempting to escape a frantic assailant wielding a sharp instrument, Lisa finds herself just steps away from safety where a parade and observers are visible. But Lisa's utterly senseless and foolish decision to pivot and glance behind her at the final possible second, instead of running towards the assembly of people, is nothing short of idiotic, leading to a death that could easily have been prevented. Number 6. The hand trap in Saw 2. Clara's death is among the most easily avoided in the entire Saw series. Inside a transparent container with 2 openings is an antidote. If Clara had walked to the opposite side of the container, she would have discovered a secure locking mechanism with a release key protruding from it, which in turn would have disengaged the container and allowed her safe access to the antidote. However, she makes the impulsive decision to insert both her limbs into the openings, resulting in her extremities being caught by the sharp elements positioned within the apertures. Number 5. Not closing the waterfront in Jaws. In Jaws, after hearing news of a massive predatory fish on the loose near the coast, Mayor Stevenson refuses to close the local waterfront and protect his residents. Look, we depend on the summer people here for our very lives. We're not only going to have to close the beach, we're going to have to hire somebody to kill the shark. We're going to have to tell the Coast Guard. Prioritizing financial gain from visitors over their actual well-being. Stevenson quickly faces repercussions for his self-serving error. Number 4. The Purge. Admitting someone into the dwelling and abandoning the secure area. There were so many ill-conceived choices made in this movie that it would be difficult not to include multiple examples. Firstly, one of, if not the most significant, was when the son, Sam, decided to disable the household security system to let a stranger into his home on the night of the Purge, when any unknown individual can rob you, harm you, or kill you and your entire family and face no consequences. Not to mention, this man is also being pursued by others observing the Purge. Somebody please just open the door for me. They're coming, kidding. Somebody please, they're going to kill me. What the hell? This idiotic decision is, of course, what led to everything subsequent in the movie, including the death of Sam's own father. Another ridiculous decision in the movie was the family's collective choice to exit the fortified sanctuary while their dwelling is under siege, when a horde of maniacs are determined to breach your home, demanding blood, and you have a perfectly good secure location and a collection of weapons at hand. Surely it makes sense to remain there and repel anyone who so much as approaches the entrance. But that would be too rational for a horror movie, so the family separates, making themselves easier targets to pick off one by one. Number 3. Halloween Resurrection. Attempting to remove the mask of the antagonist. In the beginning of the 8th installment of the series, Sally Jones finally apprehends the figure, as she prepares to sever the support he hangs from and end her ordeal forever. She opts to reveal his face and see if it's truly her relative. She fails to grasp that even while inverted, his upper limbs are still free. Number 2. Jessica's death in Scream. When the hooded assailant corners Jessica in the parking structure, she actually manages to defend herself effectively for a time, incapacitating the attacker multiple times. However, instead of striking the grounded attacker or searching for an implement to use as a weapon in the area, she decides to exit through a small opening designed for pets, which is clearly too narrow for her to fit into. And number 1. Saw. The foot amputation. After finding he couldn't reach the communication device with his arm, Dr. Evans concluded his only course of action was to detach his foot. Alternatively, he could have utilized the cutting tool to extend his reach for the device.